Hey guys, welcome to She'll Be Right Garage. We've got something a little bit special in here this week, or actually for the next 2 to 4 weeks. So we've got a bit of GM here, which is a bit unusual for this channel, but this is a car that's quite special to me, and we've got a bit of work to do on it. Belongs to a good mate of mine, so I think we'll introduce you to him, and then we'll introduce you to the car. And just quickly guys, we've now got some merch available if you want to help support the channel. We've got them in 3 different colours and a whole bunch of sizes, and they're available for $45 delivered anywhere in Australia. And of course these are in conjunction with our other methods of support, including our PayPal account if you wish to donate directly, and of course our Will It Start content. We're always looking for new vehicles to get up and running, so make sure you check out our links in the description for all the details, and if you send us through a photo of you wearing our merch, we'll chuck that up in one of our videos as well. Back to our main content. Alright, so this here is Matt.
Howdy.
He is the owner of this car. Now, Matt, you and I go back about 20 odd years.
Yeah.
And I used to see this car.
That's right.
It's blue now, but this looked like a very rough biker's car driving past. It was in matte black, and this was actually how I met you driving this car past for a couple of years before you eventually said g'day.
Yep.
So, mate, how long have you had this car for?
I think I bought it in 90 or early 91.
Okay, so it's been with you for a long time.
Long time.
Yeah, so 42 odd years.
Everyday car for 15 years.
Okay. Now it's been off the road for how long?
Since 2004.
Okay, so close to 20 years, pretty much, almost 20 years. Now that was for a motor change, so it had a 283 Chev, was that right?
Yeah.
All right, so it was going to get a big block, but now we're back to the small block, yeah?
It's a small block Chev,
All right.
yeah.
Now, you do have an amusing story for me.
All right.
Go on.
One day.
You got to share it.
Okay. The handbrake never worked. Been an automatic.
Yeah.
I didn't bother fixing it. Thought it should be right.
Well, you're in the right place.
If anyone knows Station Street at West Ryde, it's a very steep hill, and I would have been halfway up. Put it into park. Got out, I thought it was in park, slammed the door, and the movement of the door flicked the shifter back into what would be reverse.
And you heard the click, didn't you?
I
when
heard
you were walking
the shifter
away.
click, and then I turned around and it slowly started going down the hill, and I thought, this is going to be a disaster if someone comes around the corner. So I tried to jump into the car, but it was going too fast. Ended up on my backside in the middle of the road, just watching it sail down. Then the left-hand front wheel, the back of it, clipped the gutter, which spun it like 90 degrees across the road, straight into a lady's house, destroyed her umbrella tree, tore the garden out, and her daughter's brand new Corolla missed it by about a foot.
You are so fucking lucky.
I had no insurance, so I would have been up for a brand new car.
Now, speaking of a brand new car, that would have written off any other car.
That's right.
The only damage was the left-hand rear quarter, wasn't it?
It stoved it right in.
Yeah, so that's been bogged up over the years, folks, and one of the jobs that we are going to do is putting a brand new old stock quarter panel on this. Now, we have discussed it off camera, Matt. I think we're going to give this thing a little bit of love. We're going to do an external respray.
Yep.
Internal will stay the same. There's a lot of little stuff that needs to be done for registration. Now, you know, Crazy Parko and I are sick of seeing Matt with this car not on the road.
Dragging
synonymous,
it to every house.
It's synonymous with Matt. This is his car. It's his identity almost. So we're going to spend some time here. We're going to get this thing registered for him, and we're going to have this thing as a sweet looking cruiser. So now let's go and take a closer look at exactly how it's at. And here is the big girl. One very bloody cool car. This is the rear quarter in question. Don't know if you can see the wobbliness on there, but the whole lot is actually full of bog, so we're going to swap him all out. But folks, as we walk around, this car is actually not too rusty. There's a little bit here and there. It's got the missing passenger fender. But look, as we walk around to the driver's side, a few years ago we chucked some HQ flutes in there just to be a little bit different. I quite like the look. So we're going to look at aligning all these panels, make sure everything fits properly. As we move into the interior, we've got some late model Commodore seats in here. We'll probably get rid of them and get something in black leather. But again, a few parts scattered around the place. In a fender, that needs painting. Glove box needs to be put back together, but dash is all there, wiring's all there. And into the engine bay, we've got a recently rebuilt 283 Chevy. Engine bay wise, we are pretty complete. Now if we have a look at the firewall, that's a Barina colour in Arden Blue. That was something I painted quite a few years ago in 2K for Matt, and the rest of the car's going to go back into that same colour. And one of the best things about this motor is a sweet noise. So first job on the list, guys, before we start doing any kind of repairs to the panel work, ripping off the rear quarter, any bare metaling, we need to make sure we get this passenger side front guard on and line up everything on this car before pulling it apart again. So loosely fitted, we've got some pretty poor gaps on the front there, and it gets wider. The bonnet needs to be elevated along here. But look, ultimately guys, I think we need to actually go right around this car, because when we walk around and look at some of these gaps, they are kind of woeful. And particularly as we move across to the driver's side, you can see the chrome just doesn't line up at all. So we're now going to spend a couple of hours, we're going to work our way from the rear to the front, because there's just no point trying to align the front until we do that. And of course, if we look at the boot lid, we've got a pretty tight gap on this side. Then as we move to passengers, where we need to do the rear quarter, it's quite large. So every single panel gap's going to have to be done first before we can pull this car apart properly, because we've just got to make sure everything lines up when we put it back together. Now as you look around these gaps, that's pretty bloody good for a 65 model car. Looking a lot more even now. Alright, we've got access to these front hinges now. Whilst we've got some of these door gaps looking pretty good, this front door has got a massive gap you can fit your whole finger through. As we've touched on some of our previous videos, we're going to use these to slide the whole thing rearwards and up and down as necessary, and also in and out using these ones. Yep. Yeah, so we'll loosen that top one. Actually, we'll loosen them both actually. And there we are. After a good part of a day, we've got him lined up and looking really bloody good. Check that out. Those lines are looking pretty crisp now. That's on both sides of the bonnet and guard. And when we look down all of these door gaps, they're pretty even now. And of course, when we look down the line of the car, some of these are still a little bit off in terms of sticking out. But we will address that when we go bare metal and take care of the edges of this sheet metal. And down on this driver's side, everything's got some nice even gaps again, and it's looking pretty crisp with these lines across the top. So whilst we've got some body lines down the bottom, they're pretty easy to adjust. However, all of these ones across the top are the most important because they're not adjustable at all, and we're looking pretty sharp now. Alright, so with that out the way, it's time to work on this rear quarter. So we'll start by removing windscreen, back seat and headliner, and then we'll actually remove this quarter in its entirety and bring our NOS one down here. There we go. Okay, that's a headliner. Then we'll cut these door trims and then we're ready to work on the rear end. There we are. Look at that wheel arch. Look how fucking stoved in that is, guys. That's copped a beating and a half. So with a closer look here, guys, bottom's actually alright. We can't have any access inside with the welder through here, so we're going to join the bottom fender with a cut and shut type repair. All of these are just going to be ground off now, all of these lips. We'll have to do a plug weld along here because again we can't get the spot welder in there. However, as we move to the top, we can certainly get the spot welder in here and along there and along the window edge. So Matt and I are now going to spend a lot of time grinding all of these areas out now of the original quarter, and once they're wafer thin we can get rid of the last of it so we have clear and easy access. And of course we're going to have to spend a bit of time on this tub. It's been stoved in quite a bit. Now after we've cleaned up, we can see the extent of our rust down the bottom, so we've got to do a corner there on the wheel tub. Moving up to the top, the window panel here is pretty rotten, so that'll have to be sorted out a little bit later. And onto our gutter section, you can see a piece here is missing. We're going to have to strengthen up this inner panel as well, and then create our filler. And then just a quick once around, we've got little bits of cuts there where we've cut into the parent material, so we'll just go over those. And we can see how we've done a bit of the same on the back, not a big deal. And once those repairs are done, we can beat everything out and put a little bit of high zinc primer underneath. And now that our copper and zinc sprays respectively are dry, it's now time to fit up this quarter. And here it is, our new old stock. Very rare part to find. We've already done our trimmings down the bottom. We've also done our trimmings across the top. We decided not to use the spot welds, this will be quicker and easier. So this is a brand new old stock quarter, never been fitted. We've done our little repairs, nice and straight. We're good to go. Beautiful. And that there is one very bloody beautiful fitting. New old stock quarter panel, just like the factory. Got all our spot welds. Happy bloody days. So before we keep going, guys, Matt managed to dig up a bit of nostalgia here. So check it out. This is the car back in its original state, wasn't it?
First bought it.
Yeah. So
Boxy olive green and white roof.
you were not a fan, were you?
Nah, not Grandpa's car.
Yeah. That was a nice shot there at the wharf.
Yeah, Wolf Street.
And looks like you're changing the motor out in this
First
one.
engine swap, yeah.
That was that had how many busted rings was in that one?
5.
Oh, you're lucky you even managed to get it to drive, I reckon. Yeah. But speaking of which, someone was being a bit of a ratbag, guys. We're not going to go into details on
Christmas
all of
Eve,
that.
that's all we'll say.
That's all we'll say on the matter. But there it is in matte black, and you had it driving within 24 hours, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is here with a mate's car, isn't it?
Courage on again.
And what was that, a 67 it's next to?
68.
68, there you go. So there's a bit of nostalgia there. So you can see the history of the car when it was the original colour and matte black. But that said, we've still got some more rust to do with the quarter sorted. We've got some issues in the boot gutters. So let's hook in.
All right.
Let's do it. And so with a closer look, we already knew about this one on the deck filler panel. If we actually come in onto the hinge, we can see a little bit here that needs to be taken care of. There's a shitty old repair here in the boot. Came out of a different year model Pontiac, so none of these body lines match up, so we'll probably replace them. Got a little bit of rust here along the lip, almost where it joins. So we'll pop the tank out to take care of that. And then the actual gutters themselves. So we've got a bit to do. It's time to hook in. after a bit of a clean up. Got ourselves a brand new set of gutters here, just like the original. We've even got ourselves some new tabs there for the wiring. Old ones are all rotten out. And there she's all sorted. Unfortunately though, this rust along the boot panel is looking far worse than we expected. And that's going to involve a hell of a lot more work. It means we're actually going to have to cut off the entire bottom panel, repair the boot floor, and then put a new panel on there, sandwich it in, and spot weld them together. Unlucky guys, unlucky, but we are getting there with these channels at least. We've got our quarter, and we've got our boot channels looking like brand new again. Righto folks, that's going to have to be a wrap on this video. Unfortunately, we were hoping to get all the boot section done. The rust just got worse and worse. We didn't think that the gutters were going to be this bad, so it took a little bit longer. That's all we got time for. Next episode, first up, we're going to tackle this area. A quick look at the boot floor, the panel. Matt took this out off camera. You can see there's a large chunk of floor missing there as well, so it's going to take a bit of time fabricating that. But the plan is the next episode, come and join us. We're going to have this prepared. We're going to get him into bare metal and hopefully under some prime. Catch you on the next one, folks. Cheers. Yep. Ow, 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 ow. That's my fingers. Oh, sorry. Oh. Oh. Right. Yeah. Really? That was fucking typical. How the hell was it? Can't get on. That was the fucking tree. Not so rubber.
Didn't bounce back, eh?
The irony.
Jesus
which is now a fucking dead tree. Didn't we clean up in there? Oh, you know what? I think we painted in there, didn't we? Idiots. Fucking big. Ow. Cunt. Fucking off. We got that on fucking camera too. Oh, cunt. Eat it, dick.